Now if you don't mind, Griff, I'm gonna make like a tree and get out of here. So again, the answer is no.
No.
What are you, deaf and stupid? I said no!
What's wrong, McFly? Chicken?
What did you call me?
Chicken! McFly!
Nobody calls me chicken. Oh! This is movie night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night, YouTube's #1 review program for time-traveling teenagers. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. Tonight we'll take an extended look at the time travel trilogy, Back to the Future, and even hear from a special guest later in the program. But we begin tonight with the only film I've already reviewed twice before. This time, though, I'm going to be a bit more thorough when we discuss Back to the Future. Released on July 3rd, 1985, this now iconic sci-fi comedy film by director Robert Zemeckis would slowly become the most successful picture of that year, grossing $383 million from its $19 million budget. Family Ties heartthrob Michael J. Fox stars as a somewhat delinquent teenager who is accidentally sent back in time 30 years, where he inadvertently jeopardizes his own existence. Alongside him in an extremely fun and endearing relationship is Christopher Lloyd as the eccentric scientist responsible for converting a DMC DeLorean into a time machine, to which Fox confusingly questions, "Are you trying to tell me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?" The Oscar-nominated screenplay was largely inspired from producer Bob Gale's curiosity surrounding his own parents' life in high school. Indeed, the plot finds Fox playing matchmaker between his 17-year-old parents in the mid-1950s, while simultaneously working with a younger version of Lloyd's character to get himself back to the future. The plot smartly keeps things local and contained, focusing on believable drama between the characters rather than a bloated science fiction story.
And when I came to, I had a revelation, a vision. A picture in my head. A picture of this. This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor?
It's taken me almost 30 years of my entire family fortune to realize the vision of that day. My God, has it been that long? Things have certainly changed around here. I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see. Old man Peabody owned all of this. He had this crazy idea about breeding pine trees.
The wholesome but stunning Leia Thompson plays Fox's rambunctious mother in a truly unique and amusing role, while Crispin Glover brings the nerdy father character to life with an almost uncomfortable level of realism and awkwardness. Meanwhile, the imposing Tom Wilson turns in a brilliant performance as the school bully, expertly blending his foolish malapropisms with a threatening demeanor. The subtle performances by all involved are an earnest embodiment of an entire generation. Phrases like "Hey McFly" and "Great Scott" have entered our cultural lexicon. Without drawing attention to itself, Zemeckis' trademark style of impressively long, unbroken shots reminds us of how film can be both captivating entertainment and an artistic accomplishment. Delivering the film's intricate exposition is an ingenious, in-film scale model built as much for the characters' benefit as the audience's, quickly and easily explaining the consequences and goals of the movie's final act, thus allowing the dramatic conclusion to be so much more enjoyable as it plays out unimpeded by questions or confusion. Similarly, a Polaroid illustrating eventual consequences of Fox's temporal escapades functions perfectly as a ticking clock for the audience. Well paced, never once does the tension slack or the narrative hurry, especially during the climactic finish, which keeps me on the edge of my seat every time I watch. Contributing a grandiose sound usually reserved for larger epics, the score from composer Alan Silvestri is a thrilling tour de force, lending the picture a hefty dose of its suspense. Even 80s rocker Huey Lewis contributes some upbeat pop ballads, as well as an ironic cameo. Themes of forgotten youth, friendship, and idealism are explored with an undeniable emotional resonance, thanks largely to the steadfast attention to detail, where even a shy smile or a glance says everything you need to know. The geniuses at Industrial Light and Magic did a tremendous job with the numerous special effects shots, with one lone exception. By all accounts, this film is a contemporary classic, but given the lore surrounding the picture, it's amazing it was ever finished at all. Fox is nothing short of remarkable and endlessly relatable as the lead, but an entire month of production was actually filmed with Eric Stoltz in the famous role of Marty McFly. Similarly, early drafts of the script had the recognizable gull-wing time machine replaced by a refrigerator, We can only imagine how much different this film might have been without these changes. Aside from a few minor continuity errors and tiny plot holes, this 116-minute picture is a monument of cinema, and is ostensibly flawless in doing so. Although occasionally materialistic with some of its themes, it is masterfully successful in conveying sweeping emotions, from tension, embarrassment, and guilt, to anxiety, love, and fear. More importantly though, the picture is downright hilarious half the time, like when Fox scares Glover into asking Thompson on a date by dressing up in a radiation suit with a futuristic hairdryer as a weapon. A massive hit and a top 50 mainstay on IMDb's top rated list, this time travel adventure would spawn 2 sequels, an animated TV series, a theme park ride, video games, and an Academy Award for sound effects. It is extremely difficult for me to objectively review this PG-rated adventure like I would any other film. Because, quite simply, it isn't any other film. It is my favorite film. One I have absolutely cherished and adored since I visited Universal Studios as a kid. I've been to many of the picture's real-life filming locations, I've sat inside several replica time machines, and I own everything from scale models and original movie posters to replica props signed by the cast. Suffice it to say, I really love this film, and it is a chief reason why I pursued a career in media production. The extremely well-written characters, quotable dialogue, seamless visuals, clever plot developments, amazing performances, and top-tier directing make this movie an emotional and technical marvel, delivering a truly entertaining, almost inspirational experience, only strengthened on many repeat viewings. Back to the Future is an extraordinarily powerful and rewarding masterpiece. Now that you've heard me gush about it in Movie Night's longest ever review, let's see what you had to say about this movie in the YouTube comments. Back to the Future on the Rate-O-Matic. The highest possible score, a 10 from each of us. Not a single person said anything negative, with more than 2/3 of those who voted giving it a 9 or higher. You thought it was amazing. I've never done this before, but the Factor Fact show, a perfect score 100 out of 100. A reflection of its timeless entertainment value, technical accomplishments, and emotional impact, without question, an amazing film. Before we review part 2 though, let's throw it over to my friend Bill Gray, who has a particularly unique perspective on Back to the Future Part 1.
Thanks, John. Since January 1st of 2013, I've been watching Back to the Future every week as part of a 3-year science experiment. I did the same thing last year with Top Gun, and after watching that for 52 weeks, I got sick of it around the second week. But Back to the Future, cinematic classic that it is, has some scenes that have yet to get old for me, even after 10 months. The first unveiling of the DeLorean, George and Lorraine's ultra-romantic kiss, Doc's aversion to garbage fires, it's all great stuff. And there are loads of Easter eggs to spot throughout, such as the changing Twin Pines Mall sign, the identical campaign slogans of Mayors Red Thomas and Goldie Wilson, or the clock tower ledge remaining broken in 1985. There are also lots of little mistakes I can't unsee every week, like Doc misspelling his own name in the phone book, Marty stepping on Biff's cardboard license plate, or the fact that Einstein is clearly a stunt driver in a dog suit for a few shots. Oh, hey, and have you heard the urban legend that the actor who plays Red the Bum also starred in Orgy American Style, the porno scene on the marquee above him in 1985? I've been trying to confirm that rumor all year, but the trail has gone cold, my friends. You can learn all about my findings in an article called The Great American Orgy Search. Now tell Snopes how badly I want to see George Buck Flower naked. Well, that's it for me. Again, I'm Bill. You can read all about me and the other brave Cinemanauts at cinema52.com. And now let's send it back to John for his review of Back to the Future Part 2.
Produced on a budget of $40 million, this ambitious sequel was able to earn back nearly $300 million in profit following its November 22nd release in 1989. The core group of principal actors reprise their roles from the original and take us along for another amazing, if somewhat convoluted, time travel journey. Even though director Robert Zemeckis and producer Bob Gale basically painted themselves into a corner with the original picture's awesome final scene, which was never intended to set up a sequel, the narrative here manages to clumsily dig itself out of a hole rather quickly. Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are back with their famous characters with even more nuanced and enjoyable performances than before. This time around, the time-hopping duo attempt to fix damages to their future when they travel 30 years forward to stop a crime before it happens. Unfortunately, their meddling accidentally results in creating an unthinkable alternate timeline version of their hometown, to which Lloyd declares, "I can't imagine hell being much worse."
The almanac. Son of a bitch stole my idea! He must have been listening when It's my book. The whole thing is my fault. If I hadn't bought that damn book, none of this would have ever happened. No, that's all in the past. You mean the future?
Whatever! It demonstrates precisely how time travel can be misused and why the time machine must be destroyed. After we straighten all of this out.
They conclude the picture by returning to the exact time and place as the first film, even interacting with their younger counterparts. This plot mechanic of revisiting the original film from an almost behind-the-scenes perspective is an absolutely ingenious and original one that pays off dividends, making this sequel completely unlike any other. Tom Wilson and Leah Thompson return as well and easily get the juiciest roles, able to play widely different and extreme versions of their original characters, resulting in some truly memorable and humorous scenes. Although Crispin Glover and Claudia Wells were unable to return for the sequels, their characters, however, are able to return, albeit with the help of some clunky production rewrites. With the majority of actors and production crew returning here, the level of consistency is to be applauded. Alan Silvestri's score is again impressive and suspenseful. Zemeckis' directing is spot on, the jokes are still witty and timeless, and the dramatic tension remains high throughout the well-paced story. The first act shows off the imaginative and seamless visual effects by ILM, painting an optimistic and hilarious vision of the future, complete with sports predictions, hoverboards, flying cars, Jaws 19, robotic jackets, and an automatic weather system. Particularly worth mentioning is a sequence where Fox plays 3 separate characters, all interacting with each other effortlessly. Created before the advent of computer imagery, this scene helped score the PG-rated film its only Oscar for Best Visual Effects. Besides functioning as a satirical outlook on the future of society, a number of the sight gags in the 2015 portion of the film also function as clever references and recurring jokes established in the first film, as dozens of situations and motifs are repeated, sometimes verbatim. Indeed, much of this picture is littered with dozens of callbacks, as well as plenty of setups for the next picture, making this trilogy as airtight as any 3-picture story. And an extremely rare move, this 108-minute movie actually ends with a trailer for Part 3. In a tonal shift though, this picture departs from themes of relationship and self-discovery, opting instead for a larger and more disjointed narrative that is more action-oriented than its humble predecessor. Ignoring potential plot holes, the adventure develops realistically and provides for great fun on countless viewings. Although I still take issue with a 28-year-old Fox attempting to pass as a 17-year-old, there aren't many flaws here, and the result is a totally enjoyable film with characters and situations we already know and love. Back to the Future Part 2. Familiar, yet inventive. Supremely amusing. Those are my thoughts on the sequel. Now let's see what you had to say about it in the YouTube comments. Our scores for Part 2, a 9 and a 10. Your opinions were all positive for this picture, but decidedly more mixed than Part 1. You love the high concept plot, but faulted it for not being as funny and simple as the original. You thought it was awesome. A great continuation of the story, with even better jokes and set pieces. It was the emotional factor that was only slightly lacking for me here. I still thought it was amazing. For tonight's poll question, if you had a time machine, when would you go to? Leave your response in the comments below. Finally tonight, let's check out Back to the Future Part 3. Released 6 months following the middle installment, the trilogy's conclusion was released nationwide on May 25, 1990, grossing over 6 times its $40 million budget. In a rare move for the 1980s, this 118-minute movie was filmed back-to-back with Part 2, resulting in a remarkably consistent style and tone between the two pictures. The actual stories and genres, however, couldn't be further apart. Transitioning from futuristic exploits with flying cars and hellish alternate realities, returning stars Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd now find themselves 100 years in the past, trapped in the Old West. Once more, the underlying theme has shifted, this time focusing on stubbornness, resolutions, and remorse, with Lloyd regretfully remarking on their temporal predicament, "I wish I never invented that infernal time machine. It's caused nothing but disaster." The PG-rated story keeps things localized to a core group of places and people, focusing on the amusing fish-out-of-water exploits of Fox and the thrilling feats he's forced to do to escape from the 19th century. An intriguing but effective blend of science fiction and Western elements, this is a non-stop adventure with incredible characters and incredible circumstances.
Marty! I gave you explicit instructions not to come here, but to go directly back to 1985.
No, Doc. I had to come.
But it's good to see you, Marty. Marty, you're gonna have to do something about those clothes. You walk around town dressed like that, you're liable to get shot.
Or hanged.
What idiot dressed you in that outfit?
You did.
Joining the group for Part 3 is Mary Steenburgen as the outwardly curious love interest to Lloyd's shy scientist. The two are an excellent match, and the introduction of a third protagonist is a welcome shift for the franchise. Tom Wilson again reprises his role of the town bully, this time in the form of a great ancestor who hogties people just for fun. Leia Thompson is shoehorned into the plot as Fox's great-great-grandmother, if only to round out the threesome of jokes surrounding his confusion after waking in a strange location. Robert Zemeckis thankfully returns once more as director, and as expected does a brilliant job, bringing to life one of my all-time favorite single shots in a motion picture, when Mike and Chris finish a 70-second scene with an actual locomotive train punctuating the shot. The timing and artistry required to accomplish this feat is subtle enough to go unnoticed, but supremely impressive once seen. Many expositional devices from Part 1 are revisited here with great success, like the train model spelling out the stakes of the ridiculously thrilling final act, or the vanishing Polaroid that reminds our heroes what little time they have left. In an effort not to repeat myself, I will merely say that once again, the visuals, pacing, music, and technical achievements in this film are all of the highest caliber. A number of inside jokes, callbacks, and role reversal gags make this picture seem like a love letter to fans at times, but it is honestly enjoyable for anyone, no matter how many times you watch. Aside from a few developments that feel a bit contrived, this is a unique and realistic picture I have very few problems with. And since there's absolutely zero plans for a fourth installment, this trilogy shall forever stand as an expertly crafted three-picture story that finishes with a true bang. Back to the Future Part 3. Refreshing thrills with established formula. Now let's read some of your thoughts from the YouTube comments. Back to the Future Part 3 earns a 9 and a 10 on the Ratematic. While several cited this as the weakest in the bunch, many were quick to defend its virtues as being nearly equal to the previous installments, rating it an awesome. Depending on my mood, this is sometimes my favorite of the trilogy. It has a sort of lighthearted, fun action movie feel to it that is irresistible. From a critical standpoint, however, it is unable to equal the 1985 original. Still, definitely an amazing film. Lastly tonight, let's take a look at what your tweet critiques are saying about films currently playing in theaters. If you see a new movie in theaters, tweet your review at the JPMN hashtag if it featured on the show. And be sure to follow me on Twitter or Facebook for updates between episodes and to help with upcoming reviews. Next week we'll take yet another look at superhero films as we examine Joel Schumacher's curious contribution to the Batman franchise with Batman and Robin, this summer's massively successful Superman reboot Man of Steel, and the newest picture from Marvel, Thor: The Dark World. Once you've seen these films, share your opinions by voting in the polls below or by leaving a comment review. I tally the results from both places. And be sure to subscribe to the Movie Night Archive channel for my exclusive trailer commentaries. This week we took a look at the Lego Movie, and an organized library of all our past reviews. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for watching Movie Night. I hope to see you right back here for the next episode.